is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco. And now, your host, Kyle Youmans.
Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, and we are 72 days away from the NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Welcome into the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. We've got Bryan Broaddus, Zach Wolchuk, Tommy Yarrish, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. Glad you're with us today for a back in session draft show. That's the way I want to put it. We've been all over the place. Tommy and I were out at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, missed a couple of shows, had our Radio Row out there for a little bit, and then you guys were at the Super Bowl during Radio Row out there in New Orleans. How was that, gentlemen?
It was amazing. We certainly had a lot of good guests. It was buzzing out there. The Cowboys news never ceases to amaze me. We had Michael walking around there, Brandon Aubrey, Zach Martin. Got to chat with Emmitt Smith. That was an absolute blast. So it was good, dude. I mean, it's unfortunate the end result of the Super Bowl. Yeah. You hate to see the filthy Eagles in your own division get a win, but it's always a blast being a part of Radio Row. And it was fun seeing Tommy out there.
Yeah, it was great hanging out with you guys, and I appreciate you guys letting me hang around at the table and sit down for a little while because we didn't have spots. So, you're just kind of walking around. But
did you crash their table?
I did. And I crashed the
they didn't have a no loitering
NBC
sign
Philadelphia next door. I was crashing them, too.
Yeah.
But, no, it was a great time. There's a lot of people walking around there, so we got to get a lot of good content and even some draft stuff, too. So I'm sure we'll get into that.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting what Emmitt Smith said about he wouldn't take Genty because he doesn't think the coaches can use Genty the right way. So that's interesting to me that, and that seems to be a very, very popular theme right now is Genty's spot where he seems to be falling is Dallas at 12. We'll see what happens ahead of you, but it was very interesting to me. I keep saying that, but he was adamant that he's like, listen, you don't know if these guys are going to use him the right way. This team's not ready for him. And I was like,
got to have a plan.
I was like, damn. I go, that's, I'm about getting good players. I'm about getting great players. Yeah. I think that kid's a great player. And to me, just adding that, but to hear him say that, it was very eye-opening. Not shocking, but eye-opening for sure.
With Emmitt saying that, though, it's not like it's somebody within
it's
the
not
building.
gospel, it's somebody Jerry listens to.
It 100%. But does he know exactly what this coaching staff is thinking?
That's the problem. Am I right about that, Zach? Was that what he was trying to kind of point out?
He has pointed out the lack of a plan, maybe the lack of vision. I do wonder, has he been following the coaching hires as closely? And he's a busy man. I mean, no disrespect to Emmitt, but I would think I feel better now than I did a month ago.
Absolutely.
That they would take an Ashton Genty and he would be in a position to succeed. When you think of what Clayton Adams brings to the table, the new Kansas State Coach Riley coming in here, I think that Shotty's done an excellent job building the staff and putting a blend of new voices, new ideas from the college level, but also some trusted NFL voices as well, to where now I do think they would have a plan drafting Ashton Genty. I think a month ago, Emmitt's point was spot on.
Sure.
But now I think this team, if there's one thing that I'm confident in, they're going to focus on running the football. And it's not just speak, like we've kind of heard, no offense, under Mike McCarthy the last couple of years. I think this is going to be taken into action, at least from the hires so far.
Well, and Brian Schottenheimer, at least from the outside looking in, he's hiring guys to put them in positions to be successful by doing what they do best. Because Schottenheimer, I could be completely wrong because we've never seen him as a first-year head coach. He's going to have to figure out a lot of it in his own right. But I don't see him as the overarching, it's my way or the highway sort of head coach. Not yet. Not to that point yet. And I think at times that was what Mike McCarthy fell into as a my way or the highway head coach. He's bringing in guys like Adams. He's bringing in guys like Riley that are going to help do what they do best, what they did at Arizona, what they did at Kansas State, and that could possibly bode well for a guy like
Wells,
Genty.
Too, standing over Lunda Wells.
He's been around,
and he knows how to run the football.
No doubt.
And kind of to go off of that point, every staff hire they've made, I feel like, is tipping their hand towards, hey, our offensive identity is going to be all about running the ball. I mean, you look at what Connor Riley did at Kansas State, you think about how well they ran the ball with DJ Giddens and Avery Johnson as a kind of a dual threat quarterback there. Clayton Adams, what he was able to do with James Conner. out with the Cardinals in Arizona, and then Derek Foster and how he was able to have Alvin Kamara have a career year last year, and he's had a good track record of developing. So that makes Ashton Jeanty all the more likely, I feel like, at that 12 spot. The question is, does he get there?
Yeah.
Because now you're starting to see him. He's already a great player, and everybody knows he's a great player. And I think that in the last couple of weeks, he's kind of moved up, if anything. So, you wonder, is a Chicago going to gamble on him at 12? Maybe the Raiders at 6 if they feel like they can wait for a quarterback until the later rounds, or if they get if they go to free agency for the quarterback.
Chicago at 10.
Chicago at 10, that would make a lot of sense. But I've had a lot of conversations recently with folks around the Boise State program about Jeanty. I'm completely sold. I think this, obviously, the on-the-field stuff is the real deal. But
the character's there.
The character's absolutely there, and everybody speaks very glowingly about him. And we ran into him briefly at the Super Bowl, too, and he said it before. He wants to be in Dallas. He played at Lone Star High School, so he said it'd be cool to wear a star on his helmet.
Yeah, but I think, to me, this is the problem that you run into, and the reason why you're starting to see him come up the board. People are figuring out this draft, the top of this draft is kind of wonky.
Yeah.
There's really one or two guys that you would really hang your hat on. I don't think there's an offensive lineman, and I found out talking to some people about Josh Simmons, his knee, it's a patella tendon, and it's not good.
Oh.
And so that's where you're at with that. Will Dr. Cooper and those guys, how will that medical come off at the combine here at the end of the month? Will he get a clean bill of health? How long will it take for him to be ready? I just think there's so much uncertainty at the offensive line spot. You talk about running the ball. Will Dallas make the commitment to go ahead and drafting another offensive lineman? And do you even want to draft another offensive lineman when you don't know, some of this group, do they play tackles? Do they play guard? It is not how we've seen the offensive lines of past drafts. And I think that the reason why guys like Jeanty and Carter and people like that, they're talking about him so high, maybe even Graham from Michigan, the defensive tackle, these are, to me, are players that are you can hang your hat on. Everybody else in the top of that draft ahead of Dallas, and even where Dallas might be picking, it might be a little bit of okay, here we go, hang on to your ear, boys. We're going to draft, and that's the way it is. I think the further you get back into the draft, maybe you have a little bit more of that sense of calmness about your board, but the big top of your board is probably going to be a little chaotic right now.
When you're trying to look for the sure thing,
you don't want to make a mistake.
You don't want to bust in the first round.
You do not want to make a mistake,
because you can see how that'll set you back.
And this is why, to me, like if a guy like Ashton Jeanty, if you look at him and people say, "Aren't you worried about the carries?" Well, if you go back and look at the history, and we work with a guy on 105.3 The Fan, Gavin Dawson, went back and looked at college carries for backs and a heavy workload and all, and it doesn't affect them if you look at the names and the numbers and stuff like that. So no, I don't worry about that. I'm trying to draft the best football player at 12. That's what I'm trying to do, regardless of the position. And it just so happens that Ashton Jeanty might be that guy. You could talk all you want about position value and all that crap, but when you look at it, you're trying not to make a mistake with that first pick. You're trying to get the guy that can help you right now. And so that's why I would, I have so many questions about this offensive line. Yeah. Not the Cowboys offensive line, the college offensive line. When you start to tell me about, here I'm wearing University of Texas colors, Banks. Tommy, you could tell me all about the kid. I still have questions about him as a player. I really do. And I have questions about my LSU guy, Campbell. And I can't, Booker, the guard from Alabama, seems to be my best guard right now, unless I move Banks to. So, there's a lot of things that these teams are having to deal with right now. And this is why, to me, Ashton Jeanty does make a lot of sense, because I feel like he is the best player with the least amount of holes in him and probably the least amount of bust factor to his game.
Let me ask you this, and I don't want to get us too far off track. Does that top heaviness in this draft, and only there being a smaller amount
questions,
of guys,
not top heavy, questions.
Yeah.
Questions.
Does that make you want to parachute back from 12?
Not if one of those dudes are there. Yeah. Like if Ted McMillan's there.
If Jeanty's not there.
If Jeanty's there, there's like probably 4 or 5 guys. If they're there, I'm not parachuting.
There has to be the sure thing guy.
But otherwise, yes, it does.
To our point then, we're sitting there, all right, we're sitting there in the draft, and we've laid chum in the water the last few days. We're told to everybody, hey, listen, if you see your guy, come on. We'll listen to, we'll take calls and all that. Okay, they take Carter, they take Graham, they take McMillan, they take Genty. Who we trading up for? Who we trading up for? You know, if I'm in the back of the draft and I'm thinking, who am I going to go?
There's got to be a player there that they want.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't want to sit there and bail and not get value for my pick. That's what I worry about the most. Dallas did it. They got away with it with the Travis Frederick draft. They lost the player ahead of them. They blew the hatches. They went for the bottom of the ocean. They went from 18 to 30. They should have got a second-round pick. They got a third-round pick because they were willing just to get out of there
Here's the scenario in which I'd consider doing this, and it's to get another running back. I'm starting to become, and I've talked to Brian about this on our show, I'm nervous. You're going to see a high run on running backs here, and it's for everything we're talking about. Yeah. Running backs are going to be some of the safest players here. When you look at Caleb
They're the best players on the board.
Yeah, Marion Hampton out of North Carolina, even Travion Henderson out of Ohio State is getting first-round type of buzz right now because people look at him, think his game is going to translate. He's going to be a better NFL pro than he was in college. He dominated the college football playoff. The pass protection, he's a three-down back. And you look at kind of, and I phrase it as you're navigating minefields here. I don't want to just take a risk in a guy like a Shamar Stewart from A&M. I'm having a big-time difficulty with him. Crushed at the Shrine Bowl. I watched the tape. I'm like, man, there's a lot of nerves here. There's a lot of physical traits that you like about the kid. There's splash plays, but I'm not seeing the down-out consistency. Walter Nolan.
Right?
And then where am I playing Shamar Stewart? Is he a defensive end for me? Is he a 5 technique for another team? Is he a 3 tech for I don't know. I don't feel great about that. But if I'm moving back, I'm wondering now, are you going to have one of those backs there at 44? So if I take the parachute, it might be thinking, you know what, even if it's not matching the trade chart, I can pick up an extra 3. Maybe I can make up for my 4, but I'm probably doing so thinking I'm going to go ahaad and just take Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, and I'm going to fill my running back.
Why do I feel like though that Johnson and the guy and Hampton and those guys are all going to be gone, and maybe it might be Henderson at 44, and Henderson might be gone before 44.
Could be.
See, and if on my board now I'm picking a third round back at 44. You know, now I don't know how you guys have your board set up right now or how you have your stack, but to me, all of a sudden, I was thinking running back at 44. I was thinking, okay, maybe Henderson. I might be lucky to have anybody on my board in the second round.
You might be looking at
four running backs. 4 running backs could be gone.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I get to 44. Now, if it doesn't happen that way, okay, here we go. But I got to be prepared that those running backs are better than, you know, I think there's a good group of one technique defensive tackles. I think there's some cornerbacks that you can look at right there and be comfortable with. You know, those are kind of the positions. Linebacker, no. Yeah. You know, but see, if I'm bailing, what am I looking to get? If I bail, maybe the guy, and we just had this really, this conversation about wide receiver earlier before the show was about does Golden come in the picture from Texas?
Sure.
You know, does all of a sudden, you're probably going to lose 3 receivers. Golden will probably be the 4th receiver on my board. But if you drop down, say from 12 to 20 and pick up a couple of picks, try and get your 4 back, maybe get another 3. Now we're sitting there. Now we're looking at Golden and maybe somebody
Harris
else
from Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think there's a couple names there. The one thing I want to ask about, because you're not making me feel great about the Genty even being there at 12. So is there an under the radar position that we could possibly see available, or even a possibility at 12? Is there a guy at corner? Is there anybody at cornerback that you would feel comfortable there, or is that a parachute out? Same thing with edge. Is there an edge rusher you would feel comfortable with, or is that a parachute out?
The only corner that I would be happy with at 12, unless Travis Hunter just
somehow
shockingly drops, would be Jahdae Barron from Texas. Yeah. That would be and I don't think they're going to take him that high, or anybody would take him that. I think he's that good of a player. I think he's a top 10 player in this class, but I don't know if he's going to be their guy at 12.
A little undersized, don't you think?
Yeah, I've seen some mixed, like scouts. Yeah. I think bottom first round.
Was he 6'2"? He's 2 pounds, right?
And the versatility he brings to you.
Hell, I watched a 170-pound guy play at Kansas this morning.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
He's my dude.
Yeah,
I love Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think 12 is probably going to be high for some teams. But that would be the only corner because you got Ravel's coming off an ACL. The Notre
Morrison's
Dame,
got a hip.
The Notre Dame kid, yeah, he's got a bad hip.
You don't
right
think
now.
Will Johnson from Michigan's going to be there?
See, everybody has Will Johnson. I don't have Will Johnson. I think it's going to come down to how fast Will Johnson can really, really run.
Yeah.
I think there's times when you watch him play zone and all that, and you're totally comfortable. You can watch him last year cover Marvin Harrison and feel good about that, But Will Johnson started as one of this guys, and now he's this guy. Stark started as one of this guy, and now he's one of these guys. That's what just like Michael Williams started out as one of this guy, and now he's this guy. I just named 3 guys I really don't feel totally comfortable. I feel more comfortable with Starks over Johnson over Michael Williams. If you had to, hey, what did you see on tape?
Yep.
I could say if I traded back, I would consider Starks the safety.
I'd consider Starks. I'd look at some of these defensive tackles, the one techs, like a Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant come into play there. I do like Derek Harmon. Harmon's my number 2 guy. I wonder how they feel about him. Yeah. But the one edge
Nolan scares the hell out of me from Ole Miss.
But and I think
he could be great. He could absolutely be great.
The athleticism that he's got is going to tantalize people. And you saw some of that in the practices out in Mobile, right? I just didn't see the consistency, but I can see the flashes as to what people would love.
Man, Flash is going to get us fired.
But to me, I put Nolan in the second round.
See, I saw more consistency from Shamar Stewart out there than I did from Walter Nolan.
The only edge play, I would pound the table for Mike Green, and I've talked about.
You've talked about that.
Green would be an edge, and if Jalen Walker was there at 12.
See, I like Mike Green a lot, but I'm a tiny bit worried about his longevity as well. Just from
injuries,
not seeing, a little banged up throughout. Sometimes it's in the Sun Belt. He also played in the Sun Belt. And are you going to take a guy in the top 12 that you feel good about that? He had a great Senior Bowl week.
He started at Virginia though.
He did.
Yeah, and he dominated it. It would be, hey, Khalil Mack played at Buffalo, right?
True.
Like, to me, that dude just.
Do you think that's the same player though?
At the level
for every Khalil Mack that played at Buffalo, there's 4 or 5 guys.
For sure. And you do have to watch
Marcus Ware.
I saw the dominance from Mike Green when I watched him, to where I'm not worried about that. But I see the argument. Jalen Walker's interesting to me though. Like if he was there at 12, because if teams see him as an off-ball guy, that's somebody that can cover 2 needs for.
That was going to be my question. Where do you guys see Walker?
I see him as an edge.
I see him as an edge too. But I think you can kind of have some fun with him when you look back at specifically the Texas game where they played in the regular season. What they did with him kind of as a spy, I thought was really interesting. It kind of reminded me of what the Cowboys did with DeMarvion Overshown. That's not a player comp, by the way.
Right.
I'm just comparing schematically what they did, just kind of having him lurk around there. And, he's QB spying Quinn Ewers. Like, Quinn Ewers is not a runner. But he's still there, and anytime Quinn Ewers was outside of the pocket, he just gave him hell, and that's why he had such a good game. And there was one snap where when Texas brought in Arch Manning, who is known for his speed and known for his ability to get away, he chases him down. He runs him down and brings him down for a sack. So I think that his speed kind of gives you that element. But what does he give you at edge? Does he give you a constant ability to win at edge would be my biggest question. But
size is going to be a problem. That's what the scouts will tell you, though.
Yeah.
He might just he's a hell of a player. He might get beat down. If you play him full-time edge, he might get beat down. Like he just
I remember you saying that.
I talked to a couple scouts that have the Southeast, and I said, hey, what about Walker? And a couple of them were talking, hey, inside linebacker, off-ball linebacker, situational type of rusher. But you could play him, like you said, Tommy, you could play him in coverage. You could play him downhill. You could play him off the edge. There's a lot to like about him as a player. But, man, the picks just ahead of me are scaring the hell out of me. Not from the fact that they're going. I'm kind of hoping that some of these guys do go so I don't have to worry about it. That I'm like – but I think there's some people, and this is going to sound crazy, I think there's some people out there that are hopeful that Genty's off the board before Dallas picks.
People in the building
just
or
don't
people
want running
outside?
backs?
Just people in general. There's people that do not want Dallas to take a running back in the first round. And they're just hopeful. Wow, if Genty's off the board, that takes Jerry out of the mix from having to make that call. They're thinking like, well, hey, if we take him, I'm not going to be too happy about that. That's some people. if he's not there and we don't have to make that decision, but you're going to have to live if he goes somewhere else and shows up. You're going to have to live with that.
It'll be Barkley 2.0 again. You know, you didn't have a chance to draft him, but it would give kind of that same thought of like, man, you could have done something.
Okay, let me ask you this. This is just how real quick. How much we got time? We good?
Yeah, we can
Okay,
do
a little bit. All right, real quick. Okay, on my third round board, Sampson, Tennessee, Harvey, UCF, Junkins, Ohio State, Neal, Kansas, Scatterbo, Arizona
Talking about
State.
running backs.
All third round. If you had to take one of those guys at 44, who would you take?
Name those one more time.
Yeah, you got
Sampson, Tennessee, Harvey, UCF, Junkins, Ohio State, Neal, Kansas, Scatterbo from Arizona State. That's on my board. But if I had to take one of those guys, I'm going to say Genty's gone, Hampton's gone, Henderson's gone, Johnson's gone. Say I had to take a running back out of that group, which guy would you take?
Either Sampson or Johnson. Sampson from Tennessee or
Johnson, you have no shot at.
Oh, you're saying he's off the board.
He's
Sorry.
off the board. Sampson,
then, yes,
Harvey, Junkins, Neal, Scatterbo.
I would do Sampson.
It'd be Harvey or Judkins for me, and I think I'd go with Harvey.
Wow.
God, why'd you say that with clenched teeth?
Yeah.
Because honestly, the guy that I'd wait on is the K-State back.
Oh, see, Giddings drives me nuts because I don't think he can run fast.
I love him.
DJ Giddens.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
God, I like Hunter
I
from
don't
Auburn
think,
better.
I don't think Judkins runs fast, but I think Judkins
He's faster than
complete
Giddings.
back.
See, I
You think
kinda
so?
I think so.
I saw him run away from some people.
I kind of like Blue and Brooks. Blue from Texas and Brooks from Texas Tech.
Yeah,
Blue's
I need-
interesting.
I need to see that.
Well, see, Brooks, I think is going to go way later because he can't run.
No.
I mean, but
Right.
Oh, now you're
but
saying guys can't
I don't-
run.
But he's a 3-down back. But I'm not talking about taking him at 44.
Oh, okay.
There's a big difference
If
here.
we're talking about 3-down backs, then you take Judkins from Ohio State. That would be my pick. But if you kind of want more versatility, I'd take Devin Neal from Kansas. I think he's one of the better receiving backs, if not the best receiving back.
Man, why do you guys hate Dylan Sampson from Tennessee?
I don't. I
I'm
got him.
scared.
I got
I'm
him
just
on.
not
I got
as
him on
high
top
on
of all those
I
guys.
think he's better than all
That's
those
an
guys.
explosive player right there.
yeah, and I love Jalen
He's a
Wright
creator,
last year.
and you don't have that.
He is a creator.
People argue for Harvey all day, though.
but I like
Harvey's a creator too. I just don't think he has that same juice that Sampson does.
Samson's got rare juice when you look
Yeah.
at some of the running backs in this draft, but I think Harvey probably is the second most explosive out of the guys that you named for me, and he's also tough as hell. Like he could be the Bucky Irving of this draft.
You could also eat a sandwich off the top of his head.
He could, but I'll fight for that K-State kid, man. And you got their offensive line.
Man,
coach now. Somebody knows about
I'm
him.
gonna put
Be
your
that
name
kid.
next
Seriously, though, what do you think he's going to run? 4.55?
I think he gets fetched. I think he'll be a little faster than you're giving him credit.
4.55.
I mean,
We go 4.49.
I tell you what,
I'm going to go sub 4.5 for him.
we send you to Manhattan. You can time him, get him at 38 yards.
I'm going to go quick trigger on this, boys.
That's a drivable distance. We can make
yeah.
that pro day.
See, Voch and I do a show, as people know, and Voch loves Giddings.
I like him too. Yeah,
He
big fan.
loves him, and I'm watching him get fetched, and I'm like, man, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't. I mean, I don't have him. I like I say, I like Hunter from Auburn a lot more.
Okay, I haven't
and I
watched
like the
Jarquez.
Rutgers kid.
I like Hunter a lot.
The
Rutgers is a tough runner now.
I can't say his last name. McGonigal.
Yeah,
Monungai.
That's his
Magungai.
Monungai.
Magungai.
Monungai. I'll remember that now. Monungai.
Thank God for you, Tommy.
Monungai. That's a good last name.
Magungai.
All right, we got to take our first break. When we come back, we've got some great Twitter on the 20 questions, including one from a former draft show host that we're going to talk about in a moment. More of the draft show right after this.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision and tired of those contacts and glasses, don't throw a Hail Mary. Go where I went. Laser Care Eye Center, the official LASIK partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Drew, thank you so much for trusting us with your vision correction procedure. At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell them Drew sent you. Hood hood.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Cowboys Nation, Dallas Cowboys United, presented by Globe Life, is now exclusively in the Dallas Cowboys app. Join the official fan club today and receive access to all the new Cowboys drops, features, team news, and pre-sale access. Fans, one of the kind, kids of the game, download the Cowboys Now app to join Cowboys Nation today. Lots of different elements on that Cowboys Now app and Cowboys Nation. Back alongside Zach Wolchuk, Bryan Broaddus, Tommy Yarrish with Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. It's time for some
Twitter on the 20.
Twitter on the 20. I want to start things off with a good friend of ours, Mr. Kevin KT Turner.
Hey, KT.
Yeah,
Hey,
KT.
Tizzle.
I'm trying to find his tweet. Where'd it go? Maybe he deleted it. His question, here it is. Did watching the Eagles' defensive line dominate the line of scrimmage Sunday make you want to rule out taking a running back in round one and lock in some more defensive line or offensive line help? So I think we've already kind of established
We covered about the offensive line.
running back and offensive line. The defensive line was dominant. Does it shift your thinking somewhat in that first round about possibly taking a defensive lineman because of the way the Eagles dominated up front?
I'm of the opinion that you can never spend enough capital on your line of scrimmage. So offense or defensive line in the first round, with this running back class, if you wait till the second or the third, even if there is a run, I think you can get by. I think you can look for a Hampton or a Caleb Johnson in the second round. You can look for, a Devin Neal or an Ollie Gordon or some of the other guys we talked about, Taj Brooks, Damian Martinez from Miami is a name we didn't mention.
Yeah.
You could wait for that in the third round, and I think you can get by. But if we're talking about defensive line, first round, I mean, I'm still going to stand on the table for Walter Nolan. I understand, the concerns and your guys' points, but I think
I hope you're right, Tommy.
I think this guy's the real deal. He's got real power.
Yeah.
He's hard to block one-on-one. That's the problem is so much of his tape, he's getting double-teamed and triple-teamed. And even at the Senior Bowl, I mean, he's got 2-3 guys on him. Kyle, when we talked to him, the first question I asked him was, how sick and tired are you of being double-teamed?
Yeah.
He
thought he was going to see single coverage or, I guess, man-to-man quite a bit during the Senior Bowl. He was disappointed to realize he got triple-teamed at one point in practice.
He just didn't. And so, I think that's a testament to what he can do. And again, I understand the concerns, and he's not the biggest guy. He's more of an athlete. But I would love a Walter Nolan, in the first round. I would be fine with a Kelvin Banks from Texas. He's my OT1. I think he's the best tackle in this draft. And you can have the discussion about whether or not you want to move him to guard. I think that, wherever you put him on there, you trot your best five out there.
Yeah.
You trot your best five offensive linemen out there, and you make it work. And Banks, I think he's fine as a tackle. I think he's good as a tackle.
You know who the safest offensive lineman in this draft is? It's Donovan Jackson from Ohio State.
Yeah.
I have zero doubt that dude's going to be a good NFL player.
At guard?
At guard for sure. At tackle, what he did in the playoff was very impressive.
Yeah.
And he handled some really good rushers. Donovan Jackson's the guy that we haven't talked about a lot. And at 12, it might be a little rich, but in an offensive line class that we're like, I don't know, is this guy a guard? This dude's done it both, and he's played at a high level.
Yeah.
Like, I think he is a plug-and-play. If you want to move him at right guard, if Zach Martin retires, if you end up in a situation where you end up reshuffling, I think Jackson is a guy that's going to be a good pro, and I don't have a question mark about that, about him missing. Like, if I had to go offensive line, I think that's the dude that I would bank on if my job's on the line and I can't miss. I think I'd probably put Donovan Jackson on the top of my list.
Tommy,
I like Jackson too.
Tommy, would you take Nolan over Banks?
That's a good question.
Wow.
I'm trying to gauge where you
I'd
are
take
here.
Banks.
You take Banks over. Okay.
Okay, now I know I don't have to take Nolan
I would definitely take Banks over Nolan.
because he's not going to fight for Nolan over Banks.
Yeah.
So you would take Banks?
I would take Banks.
Would
over
you
Nolan.
take
I would
Campbell
take-
over Nolan?
Will Campbell?
Yeah, LSU.
No. I'm not sure
Okay.
about him.
So is Banks your top lineman?
Banks is my top tackle.
Okay.
Where do you have Booker from Alabama at guard?
Best guard.
Best guard.
Yeah, he's my number one guard too.
Then Jackson's too.
Okay, if I told you I have Banks over Booker at guard,
At guard, I'd agree with you.
okay,
Banks over Booker.
I have
Banks
Banks.
hasn't played a snap of guard in college. His second college game ever was against Will Anderson. Shut him down
Yeah,
as a true freshman.
yeah, but you watch some of the late playoff stuff. There was some struggle out
I think he
there,
was
man.
battling with an ankle.
He's battling an ankle, and Quinn Ewers didn't really help him out a lot.
Come on, Tommy, talk me off this ledge.
I'm
But I mean,
trying to help you
like
here,
his
bro.
toughness, like some of
I'm
that, like
trying to
playing,
help you.
fighting through some injury. Like we just had conversations about the guy they just took in Guyton, right?
Yeah.
Like differences about being hurt and injured. Are there any of those same question marks with Banks?
Absolutely not. This guy's going to play if he can.
See, I like what you guys are talking about with Jackson from Ohio State. Cause
that kid to me is
I like him too.
And you said
he's
a little
growing
rich.
on me more and more.
You said a little rich for 12.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about a trade back scenario or just even at 12, we've seen if they have a guy that they like and they would stand on the table for, they would be fine drafting him a little bit higher than the rest of the league sees them. They've done that at offensive line before. They did
And
it
the
with
lineman I'd
Tyler
reach,
Smith.
I'd reach on him.
That would be your
That would be
reach.
my guy to reach on.
Interesting. Okay.
how about, wait, real quick,
Yes.
Zach, Booker or Grant, Michigan tackle?
Booker.
Ooh.
Booker, Ty Williams, Ohio State.
Booker.
Booker, Harmon.
Harmon.
Okay, so Harmon's your number one.
He's my number 2 guy behind Mason Graham.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Allswaldo asked the question, and of course, Brian, you're the creator of this term, ice cream draft.
Yeah.
Ice cream flavors. It's all about different flavors of ice
As
cream.
long as you do the work, enjoy the ice cream.
Exactly. Is this draft the biggest example of an ice cream flavor draft that you've seen? A lot of names, but the same names will not be viewed the same through the eyes of many different people.
Yep.
Is there another draft that you remember like this?
Nope. I don't. I mean, we've had some. This draft is as wonky at the top of it as I can imagine because I have in my mind your offensive tackles. We just went through those. We just went through your guards. There's no centers to speak of in this thing. The running backs. I mean, pick a flavor. Pick a flavor. I tried to get you guys there at 44 to take one of my guys, and I got 3 different flavors from you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be that way with the edges. It's going to be that way with the defensive tackles, cornerbacks. You want a tall one, you want a skinny one, you want a short one, you want one that plays zone, you want one that plays man.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty much a kind of pick your flavor group when it comes to this draft. So yeah, I can't remember one that's been. It's kind of a bad situation to be up at 12 right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Without the depth, I think.
This is one where you're like, dang it, I'd like to be in the top 5 there maybe, so I could just know I'm getting an
you're
Abdul
getting
Carter.
Well,
I know I'm getting a Mason Graham.
Get Carter or Graham, one of those guys, and you'd feel great about it, And hell, I felt great about Simmons until I heard he was a patella tendon
That
injury.
stinks.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, now I don't feel so great, but here we are.
Koufax asked the question, if the Cowboys trade for a veteran wide receiver, we're not allowed to say names here.
We're not.
Veteran wide receiver, would that allow them to go elsewhere, like defensive tackle, running back, offensive line, in any order through those first 3 rounds, or would you still want to draft a wide receiver?
Okay, let me ask you the question. What are we giving up? And we don't know. What's your level of comfort for using one of your picks to go get a wide receiver?
One of your top 3?
Because you don't have a 4.
Yeah, it would have to be, I think.
I would feel pretty good. I think that if you're looking at 12, an Ibuka, Matthew Golden.
Yeah.
If you look at 44.
Well, I'm asking, what are you willing to give up? Trade
and a trade.
Yeah, like okay, we're minus our 4 right now, guys.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sending that third because then we're sitting on the board watching all these names rattle off over and over and over.
Okay, we're
again.
probably not getting a great receiver.
Yeah, I got a bunch of 5s. So I definitely
you guys sound like
with one of those.
Okay, you guys sound like then we just need to draft. We don't need to trade.
I would draft.
I think I would draft too.
All right, I like it. There we go.
Yeah.
Answer that question.
Yeah, because I mean, look, if you want to go receiver in the first round, you name Emeka Egbuka. I love. I think he'd be a tremendous compliment. If you want to go in the
I'd
second
put
round,
Golden in that mix too. By the way,
at 12,
Golden should be in that mix.
Yeah, Golden's a hell of a player. I mean, I've got him as my wide receiver 5.
if you traded back,
if I moved back, I'd absolutely take Golden. If he was there at 44, that'd be a dream.
How do you stack?
I don't think he will be.
How do you stack them?
I've got McMillan
1,
Hunter at 2.
Okay.
Because I've got Hunter on my board as both a wide receiver and a corner. I've got him as my top corner. I've got him as my
I'm a little
second
interested.
receiver.
I'm. That's high in my opinion.
I love
For
wide
Hunter
receiver.
receiver. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
as a
my
wide
corner
receiver?
one. I think for wide receiver, he's
just a playmaker.
He is.
But
I have a second on Hunter as a wide receiver.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got Ibuka at 3, Burden at 4, Golden at 5.
Okay.
Those are my top 5 guys.
How much did Besh help himself from the Senior Bowl?
Besh helped him. Besh put himself like at 44. If they took,
I mean,
Jack
it's a
Besh,
great story, but that guy's tough.
No,
I mean,
Besh
you watch
is really
him
good.
play.
Like we talked yesterday, we saw a mock where it was Higgins, the Iowa State wide receiver, going sec. I'd take Besh over Higgins.
I would too.
Any day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got McMillan 1, Burden 2, Golden 3, Trey Harris, Ole Miss 4, and Ibuka 5.
What's your love for these Ole Miss kids?
I like Trey Harris.
I got Harris at 6. Right.
like
I don't
Golden.
think. I don't think that stack looks bad because like Ibuka at 5, if he's the 5th receiver, whoever's getting him is getting a steal. Like there's not a ton of separation between those guys.
Yeah.
I just love the film on Trey Harris. I think he was fantastic when he was healthy. At Ole Miss.
That's the one bugaboo for Trey Harris that I have is the
when
health.
healthy, yeah.
Is the health was a concern, and his route running wasn't perfect, but I think you can teach route running.
Do we got that Savion Williams too high from
Yeah,
TCU?
I think so.
I'm not as high on him. Yeah.
I think he kind of had a couple of weeks where he was buzzing, and now you're seeing Jalen Royals, Besh, his teammates overtaking him. The guy that nobody talks about is Youmans out of Stanford.
I talk about
Stanford.
that kid.
Io Manor.
He's underrated, man.
Yeah.
He just finds ways to get open. He's not flashy, great hands, and he's great in the red zone.
Terrible quarterback play. You know.
Yeah, wide catch radius, 6'2", 210. That's a true X for you.
Yeah.
And I wonder now with the new receiver coach like Tez Johnson, does he get a bump, at least in the Cowboys' mind?
Oregon.
I don't know. I mean, and that dude, the quick feet, I mean, what he did at the Senior Bowl was really impressive. But for me, I thought he was more of a third-round guy.
I do too. Vodge tried to put me in a chokehold on that one too.
I have him in the third.
Yeah.
I still have him in the third. A lot of the stuff he did at the Senior Bowl was great, and I loved it. I saw somebody, and I thought this was very accurate. I would give credit if I remembered who it was. They called it TikTok routes, where he was one-on-one. And that's what a lot of it looked like. It was sloppy footwork, just trying to get open. But he's so athletic that once he grains it in, he probably still has
His
success.
speed is next.
It's
Quickness.
next
It's
level.
next level. It
And
is.
you got that change of direction. His lateral ability, it's impressive. But I would put him in the third.
He's got the footwork to where when you refine that and you get him
I'd be
to
fine.
start
You coach him
running
up.
NFL routes and not TikTok routes, he's going to.
I have him as wide receiver 8 right now.
I like that range for him.
I have him at 8. All right, a couple of questions there. One more before we take our break. Not that you would want to, but since we're in the Dallas media market and crazy trades apparently happen here, Ben wants to ask, what is, in y'all's opinion, the realistic trade value of one Micah Parsons? What is the trade value? What would you need to see if you got the right offer draft weekend in order to make it happen?
I don't know if we want to go down this path, being that we work on DallasCowboys.com.
It's just a hypothetical from the fans.
I can't think of anything that would make me want to do
Just
that.
a hypothetical.
Just a hypothetical.
But that could be the answer too. Is I don't want to do that.
I wouldn't do that.
I mean, it's got to be a
Okay.
minimum of 2 firsts.
I think that's
Like I'm not talking to you if you're not at least willing to pony up 2 1s and
this
then
year
some, and
or
then some.
or multiple years. Does it have to be 2 1s right now?
No, it can be a 1 this year. It can be a 1 next year.
Okay.
But it's going to be more than that.
Yes.
But I'm not even
Picking up the phone.
Yeah, we're not chatting if you're not willing to at least go 2 firsts.
Yeah. What would if I were to call you right now and just say, "Hey, I've got 2 firsts. What else would you need
Does anybody have? Well, you're going to have to. It's going to probably. There's nobody has 2 first.
Yeah,
right
they're going to
now,
be
right?
split. Yeah,
Because it's.
Yeah, I'll take a 1 this year.
Okay. 1 next year.
Give me a 1 next year. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to get 3 1s if I can for a guy like.
I'll tell you what. If you're a team that has a 1 and a good young wide receiver, I would consider taking a pick, and I would consider taking a player at player at need. I would consider taking a 1. Who are your linebackers? Who are your young linebackers?
Linebacker.
Yeah.
Maybe a corner.
Yeah. Who are your young defensive tackles?
Yeah.
I'm maybe hunting maybe a guard. You got a young guard there that I kind of like. I would consider, instead of taking the next year's 1, I would try and get a player right now that I know could help me be a starter. So then I could take that 1 and then go ahead and use the player they gave me. But it'd have to be a young player that I thought enough of that I think could be a starter. So maybe a wide receiver, maybe an offensive lineman, maybe one of these defensive tackles, maybe a linebacker were the ones I would probably look at right now.
If I'm even thinking about it, which I'm not, to clarify, I look at the trade that Carolina and Chicago had a couple years ago, where Carolina traded for the number 1 overall pick to take Bryce Young. Chicago got back a first and a second in the 23 draft, a first and a second in the 24, or first in the 24 draft. They used that on Caleb Williams, then a 25 second round pick, and DJ Moore. So if you give me a proven wide receiver, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, I'll at least consider it, but I'm still not taking it.
See, this is the thing that teams probably would not want to do this, make a trade with you like that for, because they're going to give you a 1 or maybe multiple 1s, and they're going to have to pay the player.
Yeah, they have to turn around and give them.
So that was going to be something that probably is going to deter teams from doing it. But yeah, I think I would be very open to like looking at your roster and picking a player off your roster to go along with that 1.
Yeah,
is what I would consider.
So you would be okay with it not being multiple 1s?
Yes.
If the players fit
the players worth it.
If the player works. Now, if it's a situation where you feel like that maybe the next year's one, I would like to get somebody that I could get right into my system and help me fill a hole.
Yeah. That
I could kind of use that player as kind of like a 1 or a 2 that I don't have to spend.
Yeah,
that I don't have to draft that position. Now I've got a guy, I've got the 1 to draft a position, or potentially even trade up, take your 12, take what you got, and move that thing up. And if you want to try and replace him with Carter or somebody like that, by all means, that's probably the avenue you want to go.
Yeah, it's interesting. It really is.
You're going to have to replace him, though.
You would have to, because he would be gone, and then you've got D-Law that's a free agent.
Yeah, now all of a sudden pass rushers.
Then that's your
big time need
one
for
of
you.
your number 1 needs. Yeah, there's a lot to happen there. All right, we're going to take our second break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the guys that we've been watching recently, getting back on the air. Who have you watched recently that stuck out to you? Is it DJ Giddens from Kansas State for Zach Wolchuk? Is that the best guy you've watched? More Draft Show right after this.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. only at Smoothie King.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. That, along with all our other favorite Tyson Foods products, sure make game day special. Score some delicious Tyson Cowboys Nuggets and become a game day star, just like our Cowboys. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Get a behind-the-scenes look at all things Dallas Cowboys with tours of AT&T Stadium and the Star, presented by SeatGeek. Check out the locker rooms, playing field, Super Bowl memorabilia, and even get a look at Bryan Broaddus in the podcast studio. Get your tickets today at DallasCowboys.com/tours.
Worth the price of admission.
Absolutely.
Broaddus.
He might even.
Tommy, watch out there.
That was a compliment.
For Bryan Broaddus, we got Zach Wolchuk, Tommy Yarrish, Chris Beam in the back. I'm Kyle Youmans. I want to know, since we've been away, we've been doing Senior Bowl, we've been Super Bowl, Shrine Bowl, whatever it may be, over these last couple of weeks. Let's catch up a little bit. Who's been the best guy you've watched over the last couple of days? Tommy, I'll start with you.
Maybe not the best guy, but the most fun guy. Oluwafemi Oladejo.
Yeah.
UCLA edge. This kid is phenomenal. We talked to him at the Senior Bowl, and when you look at the start of the season, they kind of used him at linebacker and figured out very quickly that that's not where he was best. So they moved him to outside linebacker.
He talked about that.
And after that, he was on one the rest of the season. Finished with 7 sacks. I think he played the best in UCLA's biggest games. You look at the Penn State game that he played against Minnesota, which has got a good offensive line. They've got Ursary, the tackle that we've talked about a couple of times. Late in the season against USC is when he was at his best. And then at the Senior Bowl, he kind of showed that he can be versatile and move in a bunch of different places. He's built like a Greek god. I mean, he just looks fantastic. And whether it be off the edge or whether he moved inside, and he was talking to us about how he likes kind of moving along the inside when he's against the guards in the center, just because they're the least athletic linemen on the field, and he takes full advantage of that, and he did all week in Mobile. So if you guys haven't watched him yet, I definitely would. I'm going to go and find his official measurement, but I think it's around like 6'3", 250. He's got long arms. Hold on, I'm pulling it up here right now.
If there was, just while you find that, if there was one guy that I could have said improved his draft stock in my eyes more, it was him. It was Oladejo. And I think it was because
Oladejo, is that you say?
Joe, yeah.
Dejo.
Yeah.
Joe.
I asked him that after.
Joe.
Yeah, it's like a banjo.
Oh,
Oladejo.
Like a Joe.
Yeah, there you go.
Mighty Joe Young.
Yeah, is that what it is?
What are you trying to confuse everybody?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Like everybody's explaining, and you're over there like playing Mighty Joe Young game.
No, I love Mighty Joe Young. It's a hell of a movie. If you
DJ
haven't seen
Giddens.
it, go back. DJ Giddens, baby. That's my dude.
But yes, he was.
Brian's so wrong about that.
Senior
Kid.
Bowl.
Oh,
So
Brian.
won't be the first time.
Golly, you really do need to get your eyes checked. Need a new prescription over there.
He measured in at 6'0", 261 pounds, 0968 hands, 33-inch arms, and 80-inch wingspan.
Okay, that's a nice wingspan.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, he's physically
all right.
A lot of fun.
Okay, did you guys watch Johnny Walker Jr. out of Mizzou?
Yeah.
Great name. by
Shrine
the
Bowl.
way.
Yeah.
Okay, so it stood out to me in the Shrine Bowl practices. I'm
Listen.
like, this guy's got some bend to him. He's slippery. He's dominating everybody on 1v1s. And you watch him captain, 9.5 sacks at Mizzou, pretty good against the run, can set the edge.
Played well in the big games.
Yes, he did. Johnny Walker Jr., number 15. If you want to watch some Missouri Tiger tape, I know Brad Sham has it for you. Just ask
Mickey
him.
Spagnola's got
Mickey
it.
Spags has got you. Johnny Walker Jr. And there were several guys that stood out the Shrine Bowl. But in terms of just edge rushers, he might have been the top guy for me.
Listen,
Yeah.
Brian knows this. Zach, you know this because we've been to Nobu before. What's Mr. Jones's drink of choice?
Johnny Walker Blue.
Exactly. He has the chance to be to do the funniest thing.
It could be a good
that the
sponsorship,
Cowboys
Aaron.
draft. That
But he's
could
really
do.
he's a good player, man.
It would be he's worth it. It would be kind of a mid-round pick and something that would be interesting. You need an edge rusher. I like that Johnny Walker.
I like that Johnny Walker Jr.
I like him.
Good player.
Darius Alexander from Toledo has been my guy.
Holy
He's a
Toledo.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
He's a safety, right?
Defensive tackle.
Oh, sorry.
Three
Okay.
technical.
I'm thinking of the different Toledo.
Just another
Yeah.
defensive tackle we've got here.
This kid physically looks the part. He's got the traits. He plays with power. He can rock these MAC blockers off the line of scrimmage, and you put him in the Senior Bowl. He was rocking those guys as well. You know, those guys from the other schools, the big schools. But there's some snaps where he does come off the ball a little tall, but he will walk his guy back into the quarterback. He can be tough to handle one-on-one. I think the thing is, one of the best things I see about him is playing that run, one-on-one, double teams. It doesn't matter. He holds his ground. He works past blockers. He gets his feet in the ground, uses his hands. He plays with leverage, the fit, the control, the lateral movement. I mean, this kid right here, there's some questions. There was some questions about his motor, talking to some scouts and how he might kind of run hot and cold. But when he is on, he can be tough to deal with. This kid's got huge potential. Darius Alexander, defensive tackle, 3 technique from Toledo.
6'3", 304 pounds, 82-inch wingspan.
Rare big man interception, too, this past season.
Yeah.
I love a good big man.
Did he rumble a little bit?
Can rumble. Big man rumble.
Maxon Hook is the Toledo safety. I remember looking at him at the Senior Bowl and just saying, oh, there's another Toledo safety. Thinking of my guy, Barry Church, back in his
absolutely.
days. All right. Anybody else that you guys want to hit on that you've watched recently?
Sticking with the defensive tackles, I like what I saw out of Anias Peebles, Virginia Tech defensive tackle.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He, with the Hokies, he was kind of more of like a pass rushing guy in the interior, but I thought he was great against the run at the Senior Bowl. He had a couple of good days of practice, so that would be another one that stuck out to me in the defensive tackle class that we're talking about. That's pretty loaded. I mean, the only thing that would concern me is he's a little bit smaller. He's only 6 foot, 289, 77-inch wingspan. So I think that's worth the concern, but played pretty well, I thought.
I like that one. I'm going to put Zy Alexander on the table. Brian, your LSU Tiger.
Yeah.
Do you? I was going to ask you.
It's a good corner.
I meant to text you about it. Do you like what he brought to LSU? Just in general. I know he had some ups and downs.
He did, and you guys remember? Maybe you don't. There was a player that Cleveland took in the 3rd round in the 22 draft named Martin Emerson.
Yeah.
Okay. This kid reminds me
Mississippi
of
State, right?
Yeah.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Martin Emerson the way he plays. And so, I mean, he's played corner, he's played safety in his career. And, he's a transfer from southwestern Louisiana. The length, the size, all that stuff is really kind of impressive about him. But I think the thing about it is he doesn't have really much catch-up speed or deep speed. And there were a couple of receivers that really just ran right by him, and it struggled to catch up. Watching the Ole Miss game, the USC game, and the Alabama game, they just kind of ran by him a couple of different times, and I kind of – that worries me a little bit about him. But at 6'2", 194 is what I'm working on right now. I haven't updated my measurements from, say, bowl games and stuff like that yet.
I don't think he played in any.
Yeah, okay, well then 6'2", 194.
That's what I've got.
He's got the size. He's got the length down the field. Competitive player. I just don't know about I think the lack of speed will show up at the wrong time.
I have the same thing. It says not a flyer with his speed. Will give up separation if he loses at the line of scrimmage. Needs some seasoning when it comes to spacing and zone coverage and timing at the line. And then he's had a little bit of an injury history. Those are my cons. My pros are all-around corner with a mean streak of toughness. He plays downhill. He had a big hit in that South Carolina game because I watched that he worked downhill. They gave it to a tight end in the flat, and he came and laid the hammer on the tight end. Much bigger player than he was, didn't look like it. Left little concern after returning from that injury, still elevated his game, controlled on the boundary with fluid hips and great length. Frame would fit well in any scheme because he, like you talked about, he has the length, he has the frame. Consistency was the first thing I looked at. If he was on the field, I thought he played pretty well, other than giving up that separation.
Yeah, he
just doesn't have the speed.
He doesn't need to run at the combine. He needs to wait till they have their pro day in Baton Rouge. Yeah, and do it. Yeah.
Run downhill a little bit.
Do it the best he can.
It's funny you said Martin Emerson. He was one of the guys that I kind of had in my comp area. I put Jalen Watson on here. You remember him out of Washington State? Plays for the Chiefs. Plays
been a heck of a player.
He'll get burned every now and again, but he'll stay steady and he will help in the run game.
Right.
And that's kind of when I think they're comparable in size. I haven't looked at Watson's size yet. But they're kind of similar in that regard. I watched Ole Miss, Alabama, South Carolina, kind of different, or almost the same thing, just a different USC is what Brian did. But I wanted to bring him up because I was impressed with him. And if Dallas is looking for a second round, third round corner at 44, I don't think I would be uberly upset about it. If he's there in the third, I would be ecstatic if he's your pick in the third.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Jordan Phillips, the defensive lineman from Maryland?
Oh, just saw him kick ass.
Another Shrine Bowl.
At the Shrine Bowl. Him and
Shrine
C.J.
Bowl.
West.
Okay. And then
Who did you like more, just real quick?
C.J. West.
I like C.J. West more.
I got West over Phillips. That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I like C.J. West more, but Jordan Phillips is good. Jordan Williams is an offensive tackle / guard out of Georgia Tech, and I asked Dane about him because I thought he was the best offensive lineman at the Shrine Bowl practice. Isai Pohl out of Washington State, another interesting guy, can swap left, right tackle. But Jordan Williams, like body type to me, moves really well, quick feet, won a lot of the one-on-ones. Like you're playing those practices, like the defensive tackles, you mentioned Phillips and West, they had some big dudes. Like Nazir Stackhouse out of Georgia was another one of these guys.
The Purdue center was huge.
Yeah.
I forgot his name.
But to me, Jordan Williams, you're talking about day 3. You want to take a flyer on a kid? I asked Dane, like, where do you think he'll go? Rounds 5 through 7. 6'6", 315. Does have some injury issues, which I think is what's going to knock him on this. But he just played all 13 games this past year at right tackle, 3rd team All ACC there for the Yellow Jackets. I'm a fan of his as a flyer on day 3. I think there's athleticism there that you can work with, pretty good hands, and I was impressed with him during those practice drills in the 1v1s.
Speaking of the Shrine Bowl, what do you guys think of Tyler Barron out of Miami?
Boy, I struggle with him a little bit. I thought that, to me, with Tyler Barron, though, there was some – it's one of those where you watch him play really, really well for 2 or 3 plays, and then he doesn't play well at all, and then rush down the middle and things like that. I wanted to like him initially, and I couldn't warm up to him. He probably deserves to be higher on my board than he is, because I think I had him in the 4th round. And I know there's a lot of people that think that he might be 2nd or 3rd round guy, but the tape I watched, I just could not warm up on him at all, to the point where I was like, where's his consistency with him?
Yeah, I was underwhelmed with what he did at Miami, but I thought he had a good week at the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah. He was solid at the Shrine Bowl, but there's so many inconsistencies on his tape, and he doesn't have anything that just stands out. Yeah. If it's almost like the master of none sort of scenario, like he doesn't have one thing.
It's crazy. I mean, you would think that he would make more plays, and he just didn't.
Those linebackers were good at the Shrine Bowl. The Cal kids, like Teddy Buchanan.
Yep.
He was pretty impressive to me.
Williams, right?
Yeah, I mean both. I mean, you look at all of a sudden Cal now; they're pumping out some good, or UCLA, excuse me, they're pumping out some good linebackers in this draft.
I liked Chandler Martin as a day 3 flyer.
Yeah,
Memphis
the Memphis
linebacker.
Kid, dude. He had one. He had one of the plays of the week, just ripping a ball away from a wide receiver. Chandler Martin, stocky, shorter kind of build.
Yep,
but thumper.
He had an interception in their bowl game too in Frisco. It was just down the road. They were playing West Virginia.
Yeah, that's right.
He had like 11 tackles and a pick in the game, and ended up playing well. He played well for Memphis all year long, and just never really got the spotlight draft wise because he's small. He's like 5'10". He's probably going to measure 5'10", but he plays downhill. He'll make it happen. All right, gentlemen. We will be back on Thursday with a little bit more of the draft show, 72 days away from the NFL draft. That time clock is ticking quickly as we continue on. For Zach Wolchuk, for Bryan Broaddus, Tommy Yarrish, Chris Beam in the back, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long from the draft show. We will see you on Thursday.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!